Writer's Talk, brought to you by Mithra Publishing, the third option.
Thanks for tuning in to Writer's Talk, and I'm Kiz Nkwacha. Today I'm joined by Honey Hutson, author of Soul Inheritance and also Inheritance Rising. Now, Honey is a very good personal friend of mine, and she was one of the people that inspired us to create this show in the very first place. So if it all goes terribly wrong, we're going to be blaming Honey. But if it does go well, you can say it was Kiz's idea. Honey, how are you?
I'm doing good today. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Whereabouts are you exactly?
I'm in Virginia in the United States, in the southwestern part of Virginia, which is the mountainous area.
Do you guys sing a lot? Because I always imagine that people living in Virginia do a lot of singing. I don't know why I think that. Do you guys sing?
Actually, most Virginians have horrible singing voices.
Oh, blimey. Thank God your voice is just perfect. Honey, tell me about your book. Now, you're the author of Soul Inheritance. I think it's part of a trilogy, isn't it?
Yes, it is a 3-part book series. Soul Inheritance is about a woman that's come up from nothing to make a secure life for herself, but she got something very big missing, and she knows it's missing. She starts to get glimpses of things that she doesn't understand. When she thinks she's going crazy and turns to her father, he says, no, there's something you need to know. But he dies before he can tell her. Then she finds out that she has inherited a legacy that she knew nothing about, and she is not who she thinks she is.
What was your inspiration for the book?
Actually, that inspiration came from a single noise.
A single noise?
A single noise. When they were rebuilding the wolf population in the United States, they released a CD of the sounds of the wolves talking to each other. And that sound produced a scene which turned into a novel.
Right, so let me get this straight. You heard this sound on a CD, and somehow it inspired you to write a book.
It ended up inspiring an entire novel, yeah.
I need to hear that sound, because maybe that'll help me write a book as well. How long does it take to write a novel for you?
Usually about 6 months. That particular novel got rewritten 3 times, so it was special in that regard. But generally about 6 months.
I've just completed my second book, and it's taken me 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And you've written a book in 6. Has it only got 6 pages or something?
Oh no, they're full novels.
Wow. How do you find the time to write a full novel?
I squeeze it in everywhere I can, and I mean literally everywhere. If I'm stuck in a line at the Department of Motor Vehicles or doctor's offices or whatever, a lot of times I'm up very late at night writing, because that's a nice quiet time to do that. Can't say I'm real productive otherwise the next day, but
well, some people say that if you're a writer, you have to be disciplined and force yourself to keep writing every single day. I think they have a word count of maybe, 1,000 words every day. Is that what you do? Do you force yourself to write even when you don't feel like it?
Actually, no. I find that a lot of times if there's something going on that I really don't feel like it, that's probably the worst time I can do that. So what I do is I take that time and put it into something else. If it's editing, marketing, PR work, whatever else I have to do, because the job stop when you get the contract. So what I do is I utilize that time as other, and then I go back to the writing.
So you've got a very fertile and creative mind then, haven't you?
Yeah, it's never ending.
I think I have the absolute opposite. I remember once looking for the right word for 2 weeks, and the word I came up with was fortnight. You see, looking for the right. Oh, never mind. Never mind. So, what was your greatest challenge then when it comes to writing, and how do you overcome it? What stops you from writing, and what do you do to get yourself back on the wagon again?
Usually, other things get in the way. It's usually distraction from something that just has to be done. As far as getting back in the groove, if I find that I'm losing the groove of whatever I'm working on, I'll usually back up a chapter or two chapters, whatever it takes, and find the rhythm of what I was working on again.
And do you allow people to read your work while you're creating it, or do you have to wait until it's finished before you can present it to anybody?
I do like to have a reader as I'm going, not usually more than one person. At the moment, I'm hunting for a new reader, but I like to have that one person because that person keeps you going. They simply, you give them a chapter and they want to know where the next one is.
Right. Okay.
So they're demanding.
And you say you're looking now for somebody who can fulfill that role for you.
Yes.
Okay, so if anyone's listening to this show and they'd like to be your official reader, should we get them to contact us rather than you?
Yes.
Okay, just in case. And when you find you've produced the work and the story is finally ready, how many times would you read it over before you hand it to a publisher or agent?
Well, once the process itself is done, I generally do no less than 4 read-throughs, and what I'm doing is separating the tasks at hand. The first read-through, I go through the work and make sure that it's consistent, that I didn't leave any loose ends, and that I didn't get off task somewhere, because that does happen a lot. Any writer will tell you that they will hit spaces where the story just kind of wanders off to one side. The second read through, I'm looking for grammar issues and things that maybe didn't make sense, or they make sense to me but they might not to someone who didn't know, whatever it might be. And then the final is more the final polish, and then I send it through a copywriter. My copywriter does an excellent job. Bless her heart, she she catches things I would have never seen.
It's important to have that, isn't it? Another pair of eyes just looking over your work.
Yes, that's definitely important, and that's kind of what the first, the reader who's reading along as I'm going does, because they're able to tell me that you left a hole here, or this doesn't make sense, or you changed voice somewhere in there. So that really is very important, I think.
Do you use any particular software to track the storylines, or do you just do it in your head?
No, actually I've never used any writing software at all. It's just the most I do as far as the story itself. Most of them I will write an outline for, but I just do it in a typical Word document. I find that trying to track this and track that and keep all these things up in the air is distracting for me. You
can more or less keep track of the story yourself?
Yes.
That's fantastic. You're listening to Honey Hutson on Writers Talk. Now we're going to take a short break, but afterwards we're going to come back and ask Honey, once you've finished that miraculous gem of a manuscript and you sign a contract as the author, is your job done? Well, for the answer to that question and many others, stay tuned to Writers Talk.
I love listening to Writers Talk on Mithra Radio.
Hi, I'm Laura C. George, the business coach for creatives, and today I'd like to talk to you about a new book that's out called Facebook for Business. In my chapter, The Relationship Builder in Facebook for Business, I answer all of your burning questions about how to use Facebook for Business, including things like how do you approach Facebook for Business, how do you get good attention instead of the bad attention on Facebook. I teach you how to stop wasting your time commenting all over your Facebook. I tell you why you shouldn't be looking for new followers on Facebook. Yeah, that's a big one. Sound crazy? You've got to read this chapter. I also tell you how the 80-20 rule applies to your posts and what exactly do you post. And then here's the kicker, my favorite part of the entire chapter. I teach you where to draw the line on how personal is too personal for Facebook. And I know that's a difficult one, and I'm going to teach you where you're supposed to draw it and how you're going to figure out what fits for you, and you're going to draw that line of how personal you're going to get on Facebook. So if you're interested, I would love it if you checked out Facebook for Business, the new book that's out. Again, I am Laura C. George, the business coach for creatives, and I hope you'll check out Facebook for Business.
I love listening to Writers Talk on Mithra Radio.
Thanks for tuning in to Writers Talk, brought to you by Mithra Publishing. Today we're joined in the studio by Hutson, author of Soul Inheritance and Inheritance Rising, the first two books in what is sure to become a best-selling trilogy. And don't forget, if you'd like to contact us here at Writers Talk, the email address is writerstalk@mithrapublishing.com. Now, before the ad break, Honey and I were talking about what an author can expect to happen after they've signed a contract and the book is due to be published. Now, most people expect at that point you can sit back, put your feet up and watch the money roll in. Honey, is that what happens in reality?
No, your work has just begun once you have a contract. A lot of writers do not realize, and I'm sure most people in general do not realize, that the writer is really responsible for getting themselves out there and meeting the readers and meeting the expectations of the readers. There's networking and publicity and all these things generally falls to the writer, even when you get into the larger publishing houses.
So even when you work with a larger company, let's not name any names, you can still expect to do a lot of the marketing yourself as well.
Yes. A lot of writing is very unique in that writers and readers are a very tight subculture almost. They're a world unto themselves. And a lot of the marketing and the interaction between the writers and readers is what builds the writer's profession. And that takes place generally between those two parties. So if you're mass marketing, you're not even going to hit 10% of the people you need to reach. So it's a very different world.
Right, it sounds as though once you've signed that contract, that's when the hard bit really begins.
It really does. For writers who haven't published yet, networking is very important. They need to be doing that now, getting yourself out there with the reading public and with the readers that read what you write, because in the world of readers there is so much variety in what people like. Once you have that contract, the minute you have that contract is when you start building your foundations. And those are foundations that you're going to use the rest of your career. So you have to build them and build them right.
Wise words indeed. Now, look, give us the benefits of your wisdom here, because you've produced one fantastic novel. Your second one's due out, and you're working on your third. So you know what to expect. For our listeners who may be taking those first tentative steps into the world of authoring and writing and books, can you give us maybe 2 tips that would really help new authors? 2 tips that you think would really help make their lives a lot easier.
I would say the minute you have a contract, you need to start building that foundation. Do not put a bunch of money into marketing and those kind of things until you have done your research. Research, and research some more, because there are a lot of methods of getting yourself out there and introduced to the readers that are not necessarily expensive things. You need to work on your base of readers as opposed to addressing the entire reading community, because the entire reading community isn't who your market is. Your market is the people who read what you write. And a lot of that takes place on your social sites, such as, places that put the readers and the writers together. Mass marketing does not work because it is very much almost a subculture.
Honey, this has been a truly inspirational experience. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, and just want to say good luck with the new book. And once your second book is due out, we really would like to get a copy. Can we have a copy sent to us?
Oh, yes, definitely.
That's great. I'm going to hold you to that. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you to all of our listeners. We hope you've enjoyed this enlightening episode of Writers Talk with the incredibly talented and always charming